Hello, my name is Aurélie and I'm the hands behind Aurélie Living Homewares. Today I'm going to show you how to use your Terrazzo coaster workshop kit that you've just purchased. I'm first going to start talking to you about what you will need and then we'll jump right in. So first you will need obviously your kit and you will need a couple of accessories that you should find in your home. So you will need a large bucket of water. This could be a bowl, a plastic container, anything like that. You will need some kitchen scales, a towel or rag that you don't mind getting dirty, and a clean sponge. So this is what we're going to achieve today. These round coasters with the chips, the Terrazzo chips inside. You at home can make any colors, any base color. It can be white, it can be black like these. Any color would work. It's completely up to you. I'm going to talk to you about what you would have received in your kits. So each of you would have received some plastic molds. These are transparent. I think in your kits they will be white, but it really doesn't matter. You would receive some mixing cups, so 5 small and 2 large ones. You would have received the Eco Resin liquid and the Eco Resin powder, as well as 5 pigments, a protecting sheet, a set of sanding paper, some mixing sticks, and the finishing and polishing wax. So first thing, we're going to start by making the colored chips. So you will need your small cups, your small mixing sticks, your kitchen scales, the liquid and the powder, as well as the plastic sheet. And so we're going to start by measuring in the small cup. We're going to start by measuring 20 grams of powder. So 20 grams. It doesn't have to be like super precise. And I'm actually looking upside down, so it's actually quite difficult. So 18, a little bit more just to say. Okay, 21, perfect. So 20 grams of powder, and to this you're going to add 8 grams of liquid. So you can try to be as precise as you can. Okay, 8 grams. Perfect, and mix that together. So once you've poured the liquid into the powder, you're going to start mixing. You don't have too much time with this process because the base is going to start curing quite quickly as it produces an exothermic reaction. So once it's all nice and smooth, like this is when you can start adding your pigment. So whichever color you want to achieve. The pigments are very, very potent, so a very small amount goes a long way. So if you want to put, if you want to make pink, for example, you only need the tiniest amount of red, like really like smallest, and this might still be too bright or too intense for what you're trying to achieve. So look, this was like such a small amount and it's already quite bright. If you think it's too bright or too intense, you can add a bit of white, add the tiniest amount of black, maybe if you want to make it a bit dirtier. Dirty pink, everyone loves a dirty pink. So this is a nice pink. I'm happy with the finish, so this is what I'm going to start using for the first chips. So I just move everything out of the way so I can uncover my plastic sheet. And this is when you're going to lay the material on the sheet so it can dry. So try to scrape everything out of the cup onto the plastic sheet. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Okay, all in, and then you're just gonna start. Oops. you're just dragging the base around just to do this thin layer of pink. And this is what's going to dry, and we will cut them later, and this is what's going to create the colored chips. So all like this. You don't need to be too precious in this stage. You know, it's a bit messy, it's a bit dirty. It's all good like this. So this is one color, and you're going to repeat the same step for the other color. So we said 20 grams of powder. If I can work out my scales. Oops. More. It's actually quite difficult to look at the scale upside down. More. Okay, that kind of jumped straight away to 28. I'm just going to remove a little bit of powder. 24, yeah, that will do. And then you add the 8 grams of liquid into that. Perfect. And then again, you just mix it together quite vigorously, making sure you get all the bubbles out and all the little cluster of powder out. Okay, and then this is when you're gonna add your pigment. So I kind of wanted to go for like a greeny color. Let's see, so I'm gonna mix a bit of blue with some yellow. Again, you just need the tiniest amount. This is kind of going back to school knowledge to work out which primary color you mix with which one to get the color you want. You can find some example online, or do a bit of research if you're trying to achieve a specific tone or a specific color. Look, I've added a bit too much pink in this already, so it's very, very bright. I'm gonna add a bit more blue. Yeah, there we go. And then again, like you did with the pink, you're just gonna lay it out on the plastic sheet to let it dry. Again, scrape it around like this to make a nice thin layer. The bigger the layer, the more chips you will have. It doesn't matter if they're really thin. Up. And there we go. This is our second color. Okay, so we're gonna do our third and final color. I'm gonna go for a bit of a yellow mustard. So first, we start with the 20 grams of powder. There we go. And you add the 8 grams of liquid to that. Perfect. Mix it together. Okay, and then we add the pigments. So, starting with a bit of yellow. There we go. To this, I'm going to add the tiniest amount of black. I actually just messed it up, adding a little bit too much. These are just so potent, it's unbelievable. That's a really small amount, but that's probably enough. Yeah, it's perfect. And then a little bit of red to create that orangey tint. It's a bit light. I'm gonna go back with some yellow, make it a bit more intense. That's really nice. Maybe the tiniest amount of black again without messing it up. Whoops. So much pressure. So, just play about with these colors. The hard part is that you obviously cannot remove anything from it, but you can keep adding. Just take it slow. Oops. Bit more yellow. I'm really particular with my yellows. I love a good yellow. Okay, this is nice. So now I'm just gonna lay this out on the sheet. And swipe this about as well to create that thin layer. Okay, so now we are ready to leave this cure for about half an hour. It does depend on the temperature of your house, if it's very hot or if it's very cold, but about half an hour should do. You will start seeing it solidify, and you will be able to tell once it kind of gently lifts off the plastic sheet, and then we'll be ready for part 2. Okay, so now our chips are dry and we are ready for the fun part, which is destroying them. So as you can see, it's nice and dry. It kind of lifts off the sheet, nice and easy. And all you're gonna do is just peel it away and start crunching it together. So I'm just peeling and crunching the parts. It's completely up to you whether you want to leave them as big pieces or have them all very small. That's up to you how you want your terrazzo to look like. And now you kind of get an idea of what the colors you've mixed, what they look like together, which is very fun. This is so satisfying to crunch them together. You can try to remove as much as you can from the sheets. It really doesn't matter, like if you still have a little bit on it, you can spread it up later. Here. The drier these are, like the easier they come from the sheet. But again, it doesn't matter too much if they're still a little bit wet, because it will dry as you pour it with the other mix. I'm still making some of these a bit smaller. Okay, so now I'm kind of happy with these. Now we can leave them on the side while we prepare the base for the coasters. Okay. So now you will need your larger mixing cups, again your kitchen scales, your mixing sticks and the powder and the liquid. So for both coasters, for both these molds, you will need 200 grams of powder. Okay. A bit more. Okay, so I'm just going to remove a little bit. Again, doesn't matter too much if you're not super precise. So 200 grams of powder, which you are going to combine with 80 grams of liquid. Perfect. And then same thing as we did with the base to create the chips. You're just gonna mix it nice until all smooth, no bubbles, no clusters of powder. So this is the base. So in this, you can start adding any pigments if you wanted to have a base of a color, black, pink, or whatever takes your fancy. With these colors that I made, I would like to keep my base white. And I'm actually gonna add some white pigment to just make it nice and crisp. Okay, I'm gonna add some white pigment. The base is already white, but if you add a bit more of that pigment, it just makes it a bit brighter. Okay, so it's all nice and mixed. Now we can add the chips that we've created. Just rub it all in and then mix it all nice and smooth together. Once it's all combined, we can pour them in our molds. So don't worry if your molds have any small crevices in it or any bubbles. Like, it really doesn't matter because we're going to sand these down so much that, you know, this will not show anymore. So just start by pouring a little bit in each. Tap it around. Something I like to do is just go like this to make sure all the bubbles are out. I still have some here, so I'm just gonna keep adding until full. Oops, I actually put a bit too much in that one. Again, it's okay if it's a bit full up because we are going to sand it down. Okay. Now we are ready to leave them cure for about another half an hour. I probably would recommend to leave it for 40 minutes just to make sure it's like really nice and dry before you take them out of the mold. But they do cure very quickly because of this reaction between the liquid and the powder. So yeah, we'll come back to sand them down and see the result. Okay, so we're back. So now the coasters should have dried up enough for you to take them out of the mold. So there's two options. You can go hardcore and break the mold, and if you never want to reuse it, or you can simply, the best way I do it is that I lay it out on the table and I press with my thumb on the on the coaster, and with my thumb at the with my fingers at the bottom on the side, and just gently press like this around. The coaster is quite sturdy and shouldn't, if you left it dry enough, it shouldn't break. So then you can see it's gently popping out of the mold. It takes a little practice. It can be a little bit difficult at the beginning, especially with new molds. They're a bit stiffer, but like I said, you can go for the hardcore version and just destroy the mold if you want. So just like this, gently pressing down. There you go, you've got the 2 mold. So now begins the fun part of sanding it down to reveal the terrazzo pattern. So we're gonna do a wet sanding. So taking your bucket of water, we've got the 3 different sanding paper. So you've got a very coarse one, which will be grade 80, a bit of a smoother one, which is grade 240, and then a very light sand, which is 400. So we'll start with the 80 grade. So you start by wetting the sandpaper and wetting the coasters as well. And then we just start sanding it down until you're happy with the finish. So I'm never very too precious about the bottom, because obviously it's gonna be the bottom, nobody's gonna see it. So you can go as hard as you want on those, but I prefer focusing on the front of it. I'm having some decor problems over here. So you can see we're starting to get the pattern through. Taking a sponge, wiping off the excess. This is a very sparkly terrazzo. If you decide to keep the chips thicker or like bigger, obviously you get a bit of a less sparkly effect like you have here. I'm just going to do a little bit more at the back to even out the bottom. Obviously, if you're working at home, feel free to cover the surface or use the plastic sheet underneath if you wanted to cover your surface, or, depending if you're working on your kitchen worktop, but be what's best for your environment. Once I'm happy with the look of the terrazzo, I'm going to take the sanding paper, fold it if you want, to start working on the sides. This is a bit more difficult. You can go like this or go like this if you want, trying to keep the edge straight as possible. So you can keep sanding until you're happy with how much of the chips you can see on the side. So I still have a bit more to go on here. Okay. So when you're happy with your first layer of sanding, which is the sanding that reveals all the chips, you can start by polishing it. So we're gonna go with the next grade of sanding paper, which is the 240. So again, you're gonna wet it as well, make sure it's nice and wet, and then same with your coaster, and then you're gonna start polishing it. So this is going to become nice and smooth, nice and shiny. And again on the side as well. So I'm just wiping up the excess of plaster and water. Just using it on the side this time. And that's really just going to start polishing the poster, removing the marks we did with the higher grit paper. Okay. And again, one more time, when you're happy with this polishing, take the last paper, which is the grit 400, and repeat the same process. This just makes it like so nice and smooth and shiny. Oops. And again, don't forget the sides. What I like to do is make sure it's nice and clean. Remove all the plaster. Then I just wipe it with my cloth and try to see if it's nice and polished, if you can see any, big scratches that you've had with the sanding paper. And yeah, before and after. So now, once you repeat the same process on the other coaster, let it dry for, I would say, probably another hour. Make sure it's nice and dry inside. Put it in the sun. It will definitely speed up the process before you can wax it to finish the surface. So now that the coasters are ready and nice and polished and dry, I've left this one just as an example to show you. We're ready to wax them. So this is the little wax. It's a safe food wax. So it's the same wax that I use on my product. So if you ever purchase like a plate or something like that, just note that the wax is food safe. So you can use it in your kitchen as well, to display food or anything like that. So take a little bit of the wax and just start applying it on the coaster. Make sure you put enough so it's nice. It's nice and coated on the side as well. And at the bottom. So once it's nice and coated everywhere, I'll just take a part of the cloth which is nice and dry, and I'll just start almost like polishing it. And on the side as well. And then that will kind of become dry instantly. And it's all sealed up, nice and polished, have a very smooth satin finish to it. And there we go, it's protected. You can go ahead and put some little feet if you have some of these sticky feet to protect your table. But yeah, it's ready to use and enjoy in your home. I hope you liked the video and that you managed to follow along. If you couldn't tell, that was my first video ever. So thank you for bearing with me, and I've had a really good time making this video and putting the kit together, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Thank you!